Brewery, Huyghe, Delerium Tremens.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. This is a revisiting video and I'm doing Delerium Tremens. Now it's funny because quite a few people are doing revisiting videos on their beer for some reason. Not sure why. Hang on, let me move that camera because it's starting to give me the arsehole. Right, I don't know why they're doing it. I've done it because I know that taste changes over the years. Once you try some beers and you compare other beers, then later on, once your palate gets adjusted and you really do find out what the flavours are, where they derive from, then it's good to go back and revisit beers. But I haven't seen anybody doing it. I'm not saying I was the first one, but that's what I like to do. Now I'm seeing quite a few reviewers do it, which I'm not knocking. I think it's great. I think all reviewers should do that because your palate and your tastes change over time. So what you like back then, you may not like now. And I've said this before, I tried the Cranbourne Poacher and I really liked that when I first tried it. And I tried it the other night and I thought, this is not good at all. So it's good to try a beer that you've previously tried and then return to it after you've tried a hell of a lot more beer and then see what you really think of it. Sometimes you'll be shocked. Other times, as another example, and I had some in the fridge and it was the Adnams Southwold beer. And it's not that I'm running out of beers to review, it's just I really like these beers when I first tried them. And let's face it, I'm not saying I was an amateur when I first started this channel, but I would say I've got a much better grounding now of what I like when it comes to beer and what I don't like. And you can spot the nasties, you can spot the signs of a good beer and the signs of a bad beer. So I do think it's a good thing. But I've tried the Adnams Southwold Bitter today and that really did surprise me. It was a great beer. But what really shocked me about it was it had overtones of Belgian yeasty clove esters, which I've never got before, which was really interesting in a bitter as well. Now, you know me, I'm all for tradition. But I don't know what they'd done to that, but that tasted great. And I'm going to get another bottle of it to review, and hopefully they've still got it up in Morrison's, because that was a great beer. And I liked it first time round as well. I think I did a shootout with another bitter. I can't remember what it was, but I'm digressing. Let's get back to this stuff. This is the Delerium Tremens from the Huyghe. I managed to work out the pronunciation. It's amazing what you can do if you do a little bit of research, but that's how it's pronounced. It's Huyghe. Huyghe. And it's Huyghe. I couldn't pronounce it. I was going, but it's Huyghe. It's a French name, and they're quite I wouldn't say new brewery, but they've been going since 1906, which is it's old, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that old, if you know what I mean, relatively speaking. But this beer's got a really interesting history. Now, let me just do a little bit about the brewery first. A fella called Leon Huyghe, he came to a place called Mel, I think it's pronounced, or Mella, which is in East Flanders. And he came there in 1902. And by 1906, he'd acquired a brewery. And that brewery was brewing what was known as Belgian Pilsner back then. And in 1938, it changed its name to Brouwerij Huyghe, after his surname, of course. And it wasn't until 1989, believe it or not, that this beer was brewed. And it was really strange because it was brewed for the Italian market. And a lot of people in Belgium said, why are you always brewing beer for the foreign markets and not brewing stuff for us? We love this beer and we want it brewed over here on a big scale. There was a big demand for it. And he really didn't try and market this in Belgium, and all of a sudden he was put on the spot, so there was a bit of a rush. So he sat the fellas down and they were trying to come up with a name, and he was feeding them beer and all that, this beer, and they couldn't come up with a name, and they were there for hours apparently. This is the story. And then one bloke said, if we keep doing this, we're gonna end up with delirium. Now, if you don't know what delirium is, it's alcohol withdrawal, and we've all had hangovers, but believe me, delirium tremens is severe alcohol. I mean, it's the stuff that alcoholics get, and it's not really a laughing matter. And I'm surprised they actually use that name, because when you've got sometimes people call it the DTs or the heebie-jeebies, I think the Scots call it, but it's basically where you're shaking, you're sweating, you're confused, you're hallucinating. I mean, it's really serious, and it's the darker side of alcohol. And as I always say on these videos, you know, it's great having a beer, and I love having a beer, but sometimes it can take over people's lives, and that's no laughing matter. It not only ruins their life, but it ruins other people's lives as well. So there, just to bring everything down to a fucking grim note. Anyway, but the story goes, he liked the name, and that's why he chose that. It didn't have any bottles, so they looked around the brewery, and apparently they bought a load of these grey bottles for a German customer, and the German customer went bust, and they just said, "I'll just throw them in them grey bottles until we get some others in." But the people who they sold the beer to absolutely love these grey bottles. I don't know if you can see it, but they're like painted grey. They are bottles, but they're painted grey, and they've got like a sort of a rough texture to them. And I don't know how expensive they are to make, but they're not your average type glass. But I'll tell you one thing, that definitely will protect the beer, because no light is going to get through that. So there you go. And of course, the pink elephant is a big trademark on this, and that's the story of the beer. That's where it came from. Now, they've been going since 1906, but this beer didn't come out till 1989, and it's proved quite popular. In fact, so popular, they've done others as well, which I've reviewed on the channel, the Delerium Nocturne, and a whole host of others. I think there was one brewed recently, and it was brewed by a load of women put in recipes or requests for a beer, and they come up with a women's beer, Deliria, they called it. Not had that one, yeah, I must try that. Apparently that's really bitter. It's got a really weird brew sheet. It's got corn and rice in it, and it's also got Sart's hops, and it's very, very bitter. I think it's something like nearly 40 or 50 IBUs. Now that is bitter. I'd love to try it just to see how bitter that is, which, you know, I do like me bitter beers, but yeah, that's a bit extreme. That's like hardcore West Coast IPA style bitterness, which sometimes can go right over the top. But they're using Sart's hops in that, dry hopping with Sart's hops. And as I always say, with Sart's, you can get quite a lot of bitterness on there, spicy bitterness. And that's what makes Pilsner, because of that bitterness. Anyway, I'm digressing. Have I told you enough about the history of this place? Well, that's all you're getting, really. That's all I'm going to say on that. So let's move on. Let's get this beer investigated. I took the liberty, I had a look at that, and I took the liberty of taking a photo, because I really cannot see that. It is too fucking small. And without acting like Mr. Magoo, I've got it on my phone. So the ingredients are water, malted barley, hops, and yeast, sorry. Fucking idiot. This is a hefty beer. It's a 330ml bottle, and it's 8.5%. They've called it a strong blonde on the front, not a triple. So again, there's such a weird classification. Blondes, doubles, and triples. Such a weird combination, as I say. Really can't get to the bottom of it. People have put forward loads of suggestions. There is no definitive answer. I've looked, I've tried, and some people have said it's down to the ABV. Well, that's 8.5%. That's stronger than a double, stronger than some triples, and definitely stronger than a lot of blondes. And you get triples that are less ABV than that, so I'm really not sure. But there you go. If you've not seen the label, there you go. And there's the EU geographical protected status, meaning that it's a genuine Belgian beer. Now, I didn't look at the mark I gave it on my last review. I thought I was going to, but I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I will do that afterwards, because I don't want to be influenced by anything. I want to see what this is like on my palate now. So let's shut up and let's get it open. Right. Let's pop this off. This has had a triple fermentation, so this is bottle conditioned as well. I'm using a big glass. Normally you're supposed to use the Delerium glass, but I'm going to use this one because I like this glass, because I can get everything in. With these lively Belgian beers in 330ml bottles, I typically can't get it into the, and this is the reason. That's nearly a pint glass, and it's taken up a hell of a lot of it. And there's still some more in there, look. And that's why I put it in that glass. I do like that glass. My mate Norby from Germany got me that, and it's coming really handy with them lively Belgian beers. It's a Duvel tulip glass. There's the beer in ye olde glass. I can see a hell of a lot of carbonation in there. Can you see that? I was just wondering whether there was any suspended yeast. And I think there is. Well, there's little bits of it. I can see some of it. Head is huge. There's a lot of carbonation in there. Well, you would get a lot of carbonation if they did a third fermentation in the bottle. Wow, that is really strong, that aroma. Typical Belgian aromas: coriander, fragrant fruit like peach, but there's also pepper, clove, and as I say, a little bit of coriander on there too. No banana, but it smells nice. The aromas are dying down a little bit now. There's actually, I can get some of the malt in that as well. There is a little bit of malt in there too. I wonder if that's, I know they don't say it in there, they just say malted barley, but I think there could be some wheat, a little bit of wheat in there as well. Anyway, no ethanol, which is, I mean, actually, not really getting any ethanol. As I say, with all of these, the first mouthful is just going to be the bang of the ethanol, so I'm really not going to get any flavours, so it's going to be after the second mouthful. That's when I'll start giving you the flavours. Bottoms up. Cool. Fuck me, that ethanol is big. I haven't drank many Belgian beers lately, but when you do go back to them, you realise the fucking heft on the ethanol. It's fucking huge. But that isn't as big as I thought it was going to be. I have had some where it's literally gone up my nose and it's been super big. There's ethanol there, there's no question about that, but it's not drowning everything out. I did manage to get quite a bit of orange zest on that as well, and that was the flavour I was trying to describe. Yeah, that's like an orange zest mixed with all that spice and the herbs, the coriander, the pepper and the clove. That's nice, but the orange in there is really good. That is nice. That is extremely nice, and the reason it's nice is because on a lot of these big flavoured Belgian beers, you do get quite a lot of bitterness on the finish. Sometimes the ethanol burns on the back of your throat, certainly when you get them big Belgian quadruples. But this has got a nice finish to it. It's not harsh at all. It's not bitter. You don't get the big ethanol on the end. It's more of that fruit, if anything. Yeah, it's nice. There's a very, very slightly minty, that's what I'm perceiving it as. Very subtle, but it's there, and it's quite nice. But there's the typical Belgian esters and phenols that come from the yeast that's gone into this. But it's really good. I really do like this. There's actually a little bit of the hop character coming through as well. And I'm wondering if they're using Sart's hops in this, because there is a little bitterness on that. And it does taste to me like hop bitterness. But it's really nice. It's a nice, pleasant Belgian beer. Now, the trouble with this is it's 8.5%. You cannot go fucking necking this. In fact, I don't know whether I should tell you this or not, but I had a night out, when was it? It must be a few months ago now. And I drank a fair few Belgian beers, believe me. Really good ones as well. I was drinking what's the Trappist brewer? Is it Arkle or something like that? I had a few of their triples. They were just really nice. And I came home and I felt sick. Like I was going to vom, believe me.
Dr. Evil, I think I'm going to be.
Guys, no way! Oh no! Oh no! Come on! I mean, they're sharks. That's what they're supposed to.
I didn't have that many, but well, I didn't think I had that many, but it was touch and go. And I haven't been sick from beer since, blimey, I can't remember. Must be, well, it's years ago. But this put me very, very fucking close to the edge. Oh, I'm lying. I lied to you. I was sick a few months ago, actually. On a train coming home. I was fine. I was out with a few mates and we fucking did cane it. But I was all right till I had the tuna sandwich. I had a tuna sandwich. I was absolutely starving. And yeah, that was what done it for me. So avoid them tuna sandwiches, kids. They'll make you sick. Probably. No, I think what it was with that, my mate had fucking bought a load of Jägermeister. And that on top of an empty stomach with a load of beer. It wasn't good. And I was in that train bog, driving the fucking porcelain bus. Believe me. Anyway, let's get back to this. Enough about my drinking escapades. Yeah, it's nice. That little bit of orange zest gives it a nice fruity twist to it. I think there's quite a nice balance of spice in there, as in clove, and the herbal notes of the coriander go really well together. There's a nice bit of malt in there as well. The ethanol isn't too big. It's there, but it isn't big and it's not overpowering. And all in all, that is a really nice one. I do like that. Great beer. So what is the verdict on Delerium Tremens, the revisit of Delerium Tremens? Well, as I say, I didn't take a look at the mark on this, what I gave it before. But again, as I say, whenever I do these revisiting videos, it's always to check my palate, to see it, appreciate beer in a different way now that I've compared it to other beers of the same style, and see how the ones that I tried, well, nigh on 3 years ago now, how they fare. And I have to say, this is faring quite well. It's a really nice one, and as strong blondes go, it's one of the better ones. Now, it's not on the same sort of par as, well, who does strong blondes? Duvel do a strong blonde. Is it better than the Duvel? I would say it is. I actually would say it is. Again, this whole classification, do I compare it to a triple or do I compare it to a blonde? Because, as I say, there's triples that are less in the ABV. I mean, that's fucking strong. That is 8.5 for a blonde. I'm not saying it's a strong beer. If you get a triple that's 8.5, that's nothing too out of the ordinary. But for a blonde, they're usually strong blondes are in the sort of 7.5. To be 8.5, That's hefty. Probably the triple fermentation that's done that. But I like it. That's a really nice beer. I definitely would buy it again. And I've done the Delirium Nocturnum as well, and I think that's their darker beer, hence the term Nocturnum. And I might, if I can get hold of it, I might do a revisit on that as well, because this is really nice. I do like this. I don't know what I gave it before, but this is a worthy 8.5 out of 10. Very nice indeed. Will definitely be buying it again if I'm after a Belgian beer, to just have one or two. You know, there's nights where I don't really want to be caning like 4 or 5 bottles of lager. I just want 1 or 2 glasses, and this will do me fine because it's strong. You really can't go too fucking mad with these, because you will end up on a train after eating a tuna sandwich driving the porcelain bus. But there you go. 8.5 out of 10, definitely recommended. And remember, beer is working class champagne.